another episode of Smokin Tabacco. Smokin Nicole here, and I'm joined by my good friend Smokin Tabacco. Normally, I don't do the intro, so welcome.
We've had some technical difficulties with our some of our audio equipment, so I was just trying to square some of that away. Um, so I'm sorry for the delay, but Nicole, you did a great job opening the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Smoking Tobacco Show. We have special guests with us tonight. We have the one and only, the very dapper looking, Mr. Sean
Oh God.
Williams of Cohiba tonight. Sean, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for having a cigar with us. Thanks for hanging out. It sounds like you're in a cigar lounge. Where are you tonight?
I am in the incomparable, incredible Biggs Mansion in downtown Chicago.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, terrific place, terrific place. If you ever have a chance to get to Chicago, it's definitely a must see. It is, from what I understand it, members only, so there are day passes available. I'm sure that is, but it's definitely worth the trip.
Yeah, that sounds like quite the place. We'll have to add that to our wish list of places to be. We have a long list of places we want to go smoke and check out as we
I can
travel
imagine.
around.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I can imagine.
So I wanted to jump right into it. But most people know you from Cohiba. How long you been smoking cigars for?
Smoking cigars? Actually, only just a little over 16 years, believe it or not. Yeah, yeah,
16 years. That's
yeah. I had
quite
my first
that's
cigar
quite some time.
New Year's 2005.
New Year's 2005. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been smoking cigars for quite a while. You've been around. You've tasted around. How long have you been with Cohiba for?
Um, Actually, this month makes exactly 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Now, so is Cohiba the first company that you've been with, or have you worked with any other brands or companies before?
Well, I own my own brand that I've owned since 2006. El Primer Mundo. That's I guess how I got on Cohiba's radar. So yeah, so
Ah,
I've been in the cigar business now for 15 years.
sorry, I just ashed all over myself.
Yeah.
It happens. We're a
Yeah.
mess today. We're a mess today. We started late. We hit very last minute. We were almost ready to go, and our microphone, one of our microphones was not working properly. It throws you off the game. It really does. It really does. I'm trying to get back on track here now. Um, so sorry, I had a question loaded and now I
Well,
lost. Damn it. Um, Nicole, go ahead.
I was going to say that you are launching a new cigar, and I believe it started shipping yesterday, correct?
Yeah, the new Cohiba Serie M, which is the first Cohiba to be made in the USA, and it's actually made at a factory that I have a long-standing relationship with. I think I made my first cigars with them, Titan de Bonds, in Miami. Um, Run by Sandy Cobus, like the second mom to me. I launched League of Miami with Titan Bonds, myself along with Willie Herrera at the time, Epiphany, and a number of other cigars. So, incredible shop in Little Havana. Very, very small family operation. All level 9 rollers, and they roll from start to finish. As opposed to most cigar manufacturers you're familiar with, where people roll in pairs. You have someone that bunches, and you have someone that finishes the cigar with the caps, sort of a Bunchero and a Torcedor rolling in tandem. That's typically how cigars are done. But in Titan Bronze, they're rolled in old school Cuban fashion, same person rolls the entire cigar from start to finish. So it's a little bit different process. Double binder cigars are rolled in Tabato. Just a more intimate process. Now with that being said, obviously we're blessed in this industry to have just an abundance of well-made, incredible quality cigars from numbers of factories. Most of which do roll in pairs. So it's kind of a cool thing to have a Cohiba made here on U.S. soil, to be made in a factory that is special to me, and also special in the lexicon of the cigar community, being known for making small batch boutique stuff. So pretty cool.
Now, a lot of people who have probably heard the name Cohiba, they often probably get it confused with the Cuban brand with the same name. Um, how do you, I guess, what's the way I want to say this? How do you, I guess, how do you combat that when people, get them mixed up and they assume that, they're like, oh yeah, they hear Cohiba and they assume it's one thing and then it's not, and then you have to kind of differentiate yourself. Does
You,
that happen? I
you know,
assume it happens a lot, but
it happens a lot, and at first, honestly, it kind of just it baffled me a little bit because it's not like Cohiba is the only cigar that carries a legacy Cuban name, so to speak. I mean, Romeo Julieta, Trinidad, Hoy de Monterrey, Punch,
yeah,
Monte Cristo. Those are all Cuban legacy names, but um, I guess being the name Cohiba it's a positive, and I'm not gonna say negative, but a positive and a challenge in that the name is it's so pervasive. For people who've never smoked a cigar before, have heard the name Cohiba, and are familiar with the name, and they instinctively just link it to its Cuban heritage. But again, it's not the only cigar. There, I can name dozens that have that have Cuban legacy names, but Cohiba, I guess it speaks to just sort of the prominence and the familiarity of the name, even when people are not cigar smokers. So I don't really combat it. It's just I actually like. From time to time, when I'm doing an event and I find somebody, oh, I've never smoked, a non-Cuban Cohiba. For me, that's not a challenge. That's an opportunity. Like, okay, well, hey, man, let me open you up to a brand new world, and I get into, what makes Cohiba, and in particular the red dot, special, and why they should take a look at it, and that's worked well. It's not like I have to do that a whole lot, because the Cohiba is very pervasive in the marketplace, from the smallest shops to the largest shops. But there are opportunities where people haven't had a chance to try the domestically available Cohiba, and for me, that's just an opportunity to hopefully bring somebody else into the fold, so to speak. So, it doesn't bother me. I mean, it's understandable in a sense.
yeah, yeah. It's one of those things I know I've come across it myself. People will, who are especially, and it's more often than not, it's people who are newer to cigars who may have heard some names before, but they still don't like know what kind of to differentiate. Or
Yeah,
I don't think people realize, like, hey, like there are legacy brands and there's brands here in the U.S. And they get them all mixed
yeah.
up, and they get all excited, and they come in, they're like, oh, like I thought you couldn't sell Cohiba here though, and you have to explain it to them, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But how often do people say that about the other Cuban legacy names? Like, I didn't know you could sell Romeo and Juliet here. Like, it's So yeah,
and I
but
feel like you're
again,
right though.
it's a,
It's the whole like it's that perceived prestigeness of the Cohiba name, like all like act like it's different. Like Monte Cristo is in the same boat, but like people are kind of like, yeah, yeah, Monte Cristo, but then they hear Cohiba and they go like, oh, really? And it's like it. You're right. I don't
yeah.
know why
So
it.
for me, it's an opportunity. I don't, it's a good thing. So I don't sweat it.
The there's a few cigars that have come out under the Cohiba name that I found pretty interesting. One of them is the Royale.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
that's a pretty interesting cigar. I haven't had it myself yet, but I believe that's a
You
newer
haven't had it?
release. No, I haven't had
Wow.
it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
me tell me a little bit about that one.
Yeah, we released it last year. I think officially March of last year. So like just as COVID was setting in, we were releasing Royale, and that was a fun project to do. And that is the first Cohiba to be made at our factory in Donley, Honduras, at the Hatsa factory. And specifically, that cigar is made there because I wanted to make sure that it really captured the essence of the tobacco grown in that region. The highlights of that cigar is the Jalapa Valley tobacco. You have a Jalapa Valley wrapper, and the Philly have Jalapa Valley tobacco, along with Esteli Nicaraguan tobacco as well. And that factory in particular is used to, it's in Donley, Honduras, right at the cusp of the Hamastron Valley, which neighbors Jalapa and Nicaragua. So they're really used to working with that tobacco. Used to making bold, spicier cigars. So I wanted that to be something that's really, really, really speaks to sort of that profile, that Nicaraguan, spicy, bold, sort of chocolatey profile. But I wanted good balance. I wanted it to be elegant, but I wanted it to be bold and spicy. So again, first time that we made the cigar in Honduras, first time the Cohiba's ever been made there, and it's been received very well. very well. You know, the packaging is stellar. You know, really simple to approach as far as the sizes. Only three sizes, 10-count boxes. So it's just something easy for people to kind of get into and understand. Again, especially if you like fuller body. I think pound for pound is the fullest Cohiba that we make, but also well balanced. So great cigar and it's done very well, even in spite of COVID. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, COVID's definitely been an interesting. We've talked about it so many times on the show.
Hmm.
It's been so interesting, especially for the cigar community specifically. Um, i the cigar industry almost micro boomed during COVID. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which is funny, you say that despite COVID, and it's like you're right. It's almost
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
funny because it's like I think when it first started, everyone's like, "Oh no, like we got a new line coming out this year, and like shops are closing," and all of a sudden it's like,
yeah,
no, the sales took off because
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
was home and they could smoke. Um,
I think it's that simple. Yeah, man. People, certainly for me, obviously, I smoke cigars at home all the time. But conversely, what I did more of was drink more. So I've never had as much liquor at my house than I do now because through COVID, I would buy more stuff and try more stuff to drink. And I guess for people, who didn't have as big a supply of cigars I have, they did the same with cigars. And it's been great. And the good thing is, even through the first quarter of this year, sales have still been brisk, and we still have a lot of activity in the marketplace. People are still looking to try new stuff. So, I mean, I'm hoping we can really sort of maintain this audience that we've captured and keep them engaged and keep them, you know, trying new stuff and growing the audience. So it's been good, man. I mean, I, I hate to say it's been good, but you know what I mean,
yeah.
business wise, and just as far as what we've been able to do to really tap into the consumer, and also we've been able to interact with the consumer in a different way. I think, which obviously you miss in-person events and so forth, but you certainly have a lot more flexibility to touch people in different geographies doing it virtually. And I personally took advantage of it, as have a lot of other people in the industry. And I think we've been able to tap into markets and reach consumers that we otherwise would not have had a chance to if it was solely dependent on us showing up physically in the shop for the people that could come to the shop.
So let's backtrack a little bit. You mentioned in the beginning of the show that your first cigar was you said it was New Year's Eve 2005.
New Year's 2005, yeah.
And El Primer Mundo started in 2006. So you, in a short window, you go from having your first cigar to starting that. How does that happen so quick? Was that first cigar just everything it was for you to be like, this is it,
Uh,
this is what I want?
just for the record, don't try this at home. I do not recommend that. I don't recommend anything. Yeah. So the first cigar, it wasn't like I was really just taken with the process of smoking cigars. I was on a trip with some friends of mine that I'd known since ninth grade, and really just enjoyed the camaraderie and just the process of sitting down and talking with these guys I've known most of my life, enjoying the cigar, and that's what kind of sucked me into it. Just the things that surrounds the cigar. Just like I'm in a shop now, and a guy's celebrating his birthday, and there's I don't know 8 or 10 guys over there that they're gifting him cigars and liquor, and it's just the camaraderie that sort of comes around the cigar. So that's what sucked me in. But then I just really got into it really, really hard as far as researching other cigars. And I didn't have anybody that I knew personally at the time that was into cigars. So I figured I'd start a cigar group, and do some business networking around it that was cigar themed. And that led to me sort of creating more, of a network of cigar smokers. And that's where I started getting interest to do my own cigars. So, almost a year after smoking my first cigar, I was heading down to Nicaragua to work on cigars, and
Wow.
come up with my own brand. So, yeah.
What would you say?
So
What would you say has been your favorite moment along this journey that you've had in the cigar industry?
I can't have there's not a favorite. I mean, I can name some that sort of stand out, maybe. Certainly, getting the call from General Cigar to do this was That's
It's a big
kind of a
deal.
highlight. That's
Yeah,
that's,
it's a big
a
deal.
pretty big deal. Yeah, I think early on, though, I mean, it's tough being a small brand, a small boutique brand, just from a resource standpoint, a reach standpoint. And I think some of the highlights during that time that sort of invigorated me or kind of gave me a little bit more juice to keep going. Would be the first ratings I got. Getting 91 in Smoke magazine early on. Got a Best Buy designation in Cigar Journal. Got nominated. Legal Miami got nominated for Best Brand USA. So those things were highlights early on when you're really trying to find the motivation to keep going and keep growing. So that was important. But in particular, I mean, nothing really compares to the journey I've been able to be a part of with Cohiba over the last 4 years. And certainly for me, I mean, the highlight, I guess the biggest thing probably pound for pound would be showing up to the first convention, which would have been in 2017 in this role as Cohiba, and showing up to the booth. And there's a Cohiba booth. Blue had just launched, and the one new thing at the show was this big picture of me, next to the Cohiba logo at the booth, and that's when shit got real. It's like, okay, this is like that was like, a lot of things started to make sense then, just from looking at the challenges I had leading up to that time. And because you question, a lot of things when you're trying to grow any small business, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of times you run out of money before you run out of month, and you try to figure out how to keep going, and passion keeps you going. So that's when I felt like the passion really kind of paid off. Not that I was done, obviously, but okay, now this is what these 10 years were the training. Now this is the fight. This is the big match, and so that's how I sort of approached this. Like, okay, let's step into this role with this iconic brand. Incredible opportunity, and really do everything I can to sort of impact the future of this brand and grow the audience, and be a part of something great. And I think we've done that with an incredible team of people. I'm sitting here now with the PSM here in Chicago, and he's an incredible guy I had a chance to work with a number of years. And I think about the team as far as the boots on the ground that do the blocking and tackling every day. They're the guys that people see in and out of shops, but a lot of the casual consumers don't know them. But they're the ones that really handle a lot of nuts and bolts at the retail level, making sure that we merchandise properly, the retailers are supported. If none of that stuff happens, then nothing works. So a great team there, incredible team internally from the brand side, and incredible factories, not factories, but factories, and the stuff I've learned, like I never called myself a master blender. That word is thrown around a lot. I consider myself a blender and a cigar maker, but there's guys that you guys will never see in our factories. Jonas Diaz and Yuri Guillen and Augustine and Abel Cruz, who are just incredible tobacco guys that I've learned from over the 4 years, which has been great. And that's what I love about this business. You're always learning. Always finding something new that you want to try. Which you think there's not an infinite array of tobacco out there, but even in me having been in the cigar business 10, 11 years before coming into Cohiba, I've had a chance to work with tobacco that I hadn't had a chance to work with previously, and then learn from incredible tobacco guys. I think that's helped me become better as a cigar maker. And we work really hard, and there's a lot of pride in the brand and a lot of passion. It's been a very, very adventurous and so far rewarding 4 years. So I'm trying not to screw it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
We do have a couple questions from the audience.
Okay.
So we have Jason, who asks, "Are you going to be making an appearance at TPE this year?"
I'm not personally, unfortunately. And for what I understand, I've only been to TP once, and it was years ago, which predates my time with Cohiba. But from what I understand, the show is an incredible show. Now, well attended, very good support from the retailers, and Cretech puts on a really good operation there. But it's really more sales centric. There's not as much in the way of the stuff that I do necessarily, right? So as far as I know, there's not a whole lot of personalities out there. Certainly not from our company. So I'm not there. Rick Rodriguez from CAO isn't there. But we do have a presence. Cohiba will be represented there, but it's more from the sales and admin team that's there. So unfortunately, I won't be there. At least as of now. I mean, that may change, but I think I know by this point if I
Yeah,
was going to be there.
you probably
Yeah,
know by now.
yeah,
Will you be
yeah.
attending PCA?
As a company, we don't attend PCA. As of I think our last show
Right.
with PCA was 2019. Yeah, so yeah, we as a company we won't be at PCA. Yeah.
Um, Let me see. We have another question. So, will there be any events in the New Hampshire, Massachusetts area soon?
Man, I wish. Soon, I could say certainly not soon because my calendar is pretty. The cake is baked on it for at least the next quarter. I typically do an event. Well, it's not my event. It's an event with the Myopia Polo Club in October. That may still happen, and I'd like to schedule some stuff around that. So maybe in the fall, I'll get some stuff scheduled in the New England area. But I love the area up there. But for whatever reason, just hasn't really been presented for me to do many events personally up there. The brand does well, but hopefully that'll change. I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah, and I mean it's been pretty slow. Obviously due to COVID, we were one of the
Yeah,
places that were
yeah,
locked down, the longest. Obviously,
yeah.
there are other areas of the country that are still kind of just beginning to rile up, but we haven't seen a lot
Hmm.
of events. However, more and more are being scheduled for in person, especially now the weather's getting nice. Winter time
Hmm.
up here, everyone's inside. At least in the summer, everyone can kind of space out. So,
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's time for us to hit our news segment.
yeah. Let me switch screens here.
Our news segment this week, as always,
All
is
right.
brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. McAuliffe Cigars, join the ambassador program. If you're not an ambassador, head over to McAuliffeCigars.com and jump on the bandwagon. One of the biggest news stories that came out this week, coming out yesterday, was that Ferry Otego, the Michael Herklotz-led company, who will be continuing brands from the now defunct Nat Sherman company, has struck a distribution deal with Davidoff. Um,
Oh,
should be pretty good. I mean, that's a pretty big company to have,
Huge.
come on and take on distribution for you. Um, I believe sometime spring is when Michael had said that the first cigars would be coming out, and we're kind of just about into almost the middle of spring now. So really excited to see, when those first few cigars from Ferry Otego hit. Really excited to try them. Um, I know he's going to have some new stuff as well as the continued brands, Timeless and Metropolitan and all that. I believe those are coming later this year, but the Ferro Tego stuff, I'm really excited to see. Um, and yeah, I think maybe we should be seeing that around May. I would say at this point. That's if we haven't seen it yet. I would say around May. I think is when those should drop. So that should be interesting. That's a great deal for him. A lot of coverage there. That's a big company that definitely have your back. I think that'll be really good
yeah.
for him.
And he recently
Herc's a
was
good
in.
guy, man. I'm happy for him. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
Herc's a real good guy. Yeah.
he came on the show a few months ago. It was a great show. We had a great time. Even after the show, he hung around with us, and we just talked. And he was, he's a friendly guy. He's full of ideas.
Yeah.
He's a very creative guy. Um, he sat there and brainstormed with us on something that we were trying to do, just on his own free time. He just wanted to like brainstorm with us. I'm like, yeah, all right, sure. What do you got? So,
Why not? Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, he's an awesome guy, and and again, we wish him the best. And I'm pretty impressed with just how quickly and how well he's been able to do this whole transition, start up, and kind of continue on to the next chapter, of his
Mhm.
career, and the way he did it, and certainly in the amount of time that he did it, it's pretty impressive. So, I have high hopes for him. Should be good. Um,
Yeah.
then so that's gonna take it for news this week. I think we had one other thing, but we're not gonna get to that now. Back
It's on the
back to
website.
What was that?
It's on the website. I think
Yeah,
they
it's
did
on
a
the
couple of
website.
stories yesterday. So
Um, so, oh, I'm sorry. That's what it was. Um, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust has also expanded into Belgium and Luxembourg, if I remember correctly, which is interesting. You know, Steve Saka, Dunbarton Tobacco and Trust, the ever-growing presence of the Saka Squatch. If you're a Saka fan and you're from across the pond, that's good news for you. It doesn't really impact us over here, but good news for you if you're a Saka fan over in Europe and you live in those areas. But back to Sean. So El Primer Mundo. Um, you talked a little about that. We've talked a little bit about your time at Cohiba. Um, you mentioned that during COVID, you had started to drink more. Actually, I picked up on that. Buying
I,
more
I,
liquor and
so I don't need a support group. I don't need counseling.
oh no, no, no. We're in the same boat. It's
yeah,
okay. We're in this together. We did the same thing.
yeah, yeah. I just started, because I would typically during normal times 5 out of 6 weeks I'm traveling.
Right.
So when I'm home, and I don't drink outside of cigars. I like physiologically, like I'm incapable of consuming alcohol if a cigar isn't involved. Like so,
hmm.
so for me, I only, because I'm not a drinker, but I like to taste different spirits, in particular bourbon, and some cognacs. Um, but as it relates to how they pair with the cigar, so I just had being home and really smoking more at home, gave me an opportunity to just explore and just try different bourbons to pair with the cigar. So I have a lot of, a lot more bourbon. I mean, my bar may not be something comparable to people who really into spirits heavy, but my bar is just a lot more stock than it had been previously. So yeah, I started to buy more liquor. That's for sure.
So you're a bourbon. So you're definitely a bourbon guy. So what are some of the bourbons that you like? What are some of your favorites?
Um, some of the common ones. Colonel Taylor, Lovey Taylor, Weller. Um, I like a lot of stuff that Michter's does. I like the Michter's American. I like their rye. My favorite rye pound for pound is probably Basil Hayden Dark Rye. Elmer T. Lee I like a lot. Old Forester, Statesman in particular I really like. There's just different stuff. Yeah, different stuff. I don't know if there's any real oddball stuff. Bell Mead, which is not necessarily a particular high end bourbon, I like that. The old twist off Cooper's Craft, as far as just like a value option. So it's all over the board. It just kind of depends, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we're
Yeah.
bourbon people ourselves, though. Um, and a lot of stuff you mentioned, right on par with. We drink a lot of the same
Mhm.
stuff. And for me, you know, not so much on the show, but like when when I drink my bourbons, it's more for like mind-numbing relaxation. It's when I'm on the show, I don't usually drink much. Not because I'm worried about over drinking or whatever. It's for me. When I drink, I really want to take the time to taste the notes on the whiskey and enjoy it. So, um, when I do drink, I usually also have a cigar with it. I like the pairing. I like to put them together. I like to see, certain cigars with certain bourbons, and I'm always trying to find like a good pairing for a certain bourbon with a certain cigar. That's fun for me. We're also, we are big bourbon people, so we have a lot of it.
I
We
actually saw some news the other day on Facebook. So our buddy, so we actually frequent Kirk Kendall's Twin Smoke Shop,
Okay.
and he
Yeah.
did a barrel pick of Weller 107.
Oh, he did.
He did a
Nice.
barrel pick. So
That's news to me.
we like our Weller too. So I was
Yeah.
excited when I saw that.
Oh, that's good
Awesome.
to know. I
Awesome.
didn't even know that. We have to go up there.
He's ready. He's ready. He's ready to head out now.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm out of 107 right now. I had some, but I traded some of it away for something else that I wanted. So I'm actually
Yeah.
out right now, but I gotta track some down. Believe it or not, it's funny. Everyone talks about the 107 or when the full proof barrel picks come out, or even people with the Weller 12. They get all hyped up on the Weller 12. I've had all of them, and to be honest with you, like the Weller 12 was a good bourbon, but it wasn't like it didn't wow me like in the hype that it gets. The Special Reserve, the 28.99 bottle with the screw cap,
Yeah.
that's my favorite. Like I
No, I
I
like.
would
Yeah,
drink
yeah.
that over all the other ones.
Yeah. And I'm with you. And I do like the Weller 12 though. It's a different experience. I mean, all of them are. Being wheated bourbons, they're just different. Because it's kind of like the converse. I mean, bourbons. I gravitated to bourbons early on because they're naturally sweeter because of 51% corn.
Yeah.
But with the Weller being a wheated bourbon, it kind of takes some of that sort of viscous sort of sweetness off a little bit. So it's a different experience. So I like it. But I'm like you. I mean, across the board. I mean, it's just. I think it's just solid stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for me it was interesting too because I had also when I got started getting into the Pappy stuff, the old Rip Van Winkle, the 10-year,
Hmm. Hmm.
it was all right. It was all right. It was a little unbalanced to my taste. And then I went to the 12-year Lot B, which I feel like a lot of people kind of like frown upon as like, well, it's not Pappy Van Winkle, it's Lot B. It's like the lower grade. I'm like, dude, that Lot B 12, I would drink that all day long. That so far that for me that's my favorite. I love that bourbon.
Yeah.
And I've
And
kind of I've
I'm
come
not sure that I've gone through all the different Pappies though, so I probably can't speak to it. But I actually did like the Rip 10 year. I mean, uh, I think it's solid, and I've had some of the different Pappies. But it's one of those things I don't seek it out a lot because there's so much other stuff out there that
right.
I don't feel like I need to run the gauntlet or jump through hoops to get all these different unicorns because there's so much good juice out there.
Yeah,
So
and I feel like it's something to be said. I mean, if you're really into it and you really like bourbon and it really is in your curiosity, if you find it and you hunt it down and you want to try it, like
yeah,
all the power to you. Like for me, like it was one of those things where I just kind of waited till the opportunity presented itself and I tried it and I was like, okay, and I liked what I liked and I didn't like what I didn't like, but um there's some good stuff that's just sitting on the shelf and a lot of times we go out to stores and we're looking for good stuff. We're also just looking at like what's on the shelf. Like for the longest time,
yeah,
good example, a lot of the wild turkey stuff we didn't grab and it wasn't because we had anything against it. It was just kind of one of those things that was like, all right, so wild turkey, it's always there, whatever. We kind of wanted to try something that was different. Then we kind of went through all that and we're like, well, let's try the wild turkey stuff. The first bottle we got was a Russell's Reserve uh, barrel peak. And we got it from one of our local liquor stores. We did a tasting of it. And we were like, oh, this is pretty good. So I got the bottle and I remember we chipped through that bottle like right away. And we loved it.
dude.
We're
Like
like, this is good stuff.
The Russell's 10. That's another one. Like it's not expensive, it's not crazy, but it's just solid. Really, really good stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And with the crazy bourbon, with availability and pricing and all that, and you see some of these bottles go for insane money, and then you just go look at what's on the shelf. Some good stuff. I mean, how crazy of a party do you need to have all the time? You know what I mean?
yeah. I'm with you. Yeah,
But you
yeah.
also mentioned cognacs too, which is interesting. I don't know many people, at least that I've met. Not that there aren't, but I don't know many people who are really into cognac. So what cognacs do you find pair well with cigars the best?
So I've had the fortune of doing a number of co-promotions and activations with the Louis Tress team. So I mean, it doesn't get much better than that than cognac. I have access to that, which is a special treat to enjoy that. So that's what I enjoy primarily. And then the stuff within the Remy line, but I'm not as versed in that. I'm pretty selective with that because honestly, some of the cognacs just aren't as bold and wild as I would like compared to the experience you get with some other spirits. But for me in particular, which I know is not everyday thing for other people, I'm fortunate in that I have a relationship with them that when I decide I'm going to drink a cognac, it's usually Louis. So I'm not probably not a good barometer for that. So yeah, yeah, and I don't want to say what cognacs I don't drink or whatever because people have been thinking that's fine, but that's what I drink. So
Interesting.
for what it is.
Yeah, no, I always like having that conversation, with people. Everyone always smokes cigars, within this circle. We all smoke cigars, but it's like, what do you drink with it? You know what I mean? I always find it's a fun conversation. Bourbon, whiskey, Scotch. They're like the main
Yeah,
ones, and
yeah,
then you
yeah,
get
yeah.
the rum group who loves to drink rum with it. Now there's kind of like more of a
That's
tequila
never been.
following.
Tequila absolutely cannot do. It's just I haven't found a tequila that doesn't have that long finish. To me, that's a little off-putting with a cigar. I see guys, a lot of guys, like you said, they love tequila with cigars, but to me, it always sort of fights with the profile of the cigar that I'm smoking. So it just doesn't work.
See,
It
but
doesn't
you're
work
the
for me.
second person who said that. Who's saying that the other day? Sorry. Who was saying that
Was
the
it
other day?
was
Was
it
it?
was it was it Joe Grow?
No, it was Ben Willis when we were on.
Oh yes, it was Ben Willis.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
sat down with her on the
Meet the
professor's
Professor.
one on Meet the Professor's on his 1 year birthday show on Sunday. Yeah, she said the same thing. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
funny because I've been talking to more and more people who are like getting more into tequilas and drinking tequilas with cigars, specifically more of like the añejos and the darker tequilas.
And I've
Uh,
tried those, just trying to find a place to land on them, and it's not my thing. So maybe there's one out there I haven't tried that pair well, but I'm just not inclined to reach for tequila ever to pair with
yeah.
a cigar. That's just me though. So
Hey, everyone has their own palate. Everyone has their
yeah.
thing. Um, there's no right or wrong answer. It is what it is.
Mhm.
People like what they like. I do want to go into our sports segment before we wrap up the show. Sports segment brought to you by Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova, make Nova big. If you head over to novacigar.com, you can use our discount code SMKTAB15 to save 15% off your next order at novacigar.com. Couple of highlights this week. First of all, Carney's not here. John is sitting on the bench yet again with the Smokin Tabacco crew. He is away. We miss him dearly. This is more of the John Carney segment than it is like the Smokin Tabacco sports segment.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
useless. Sorry,
yeah.
audience.
So
So is John not here because he's like I don't know in fighting depression because of the Pats and their woes and
ooh, ooh, throwing some heat. Throwing some heat. I like
no,
it.
I'm serious. I mean, listen. I'm a Saints guy. We're in the same boat. I mean, I'm wondering how long we're gonna be in the wilderness with Drew Brees stepping away.
So
So I feel his pain.
I will tell you, interesting enough, obviously I'm a Patriots fan, lifelong Patriots fan, always be a Patriots fan. Um, I like the Saints a lot, and the Saints for me have always been kind of like my second team.
Oh
Uh,
wow, I
yeah,
do. I
yeah,
do.
I've always, and that's no bullshit. You can even ask John. Last year, I wanted Breeze to beat Brady in the Bucs in the NFC. I was
Well, I
going for
did
them,
too. Nothing against Brady. I just wanted him to beat the Bucks and get to the Super Bowl. That was our last shot for a long time.
and
So yeah.
And even before that, when Brady was in New England, for years on the NFC side, I would want the Saints to go and play the Patriots in the Super Bowl because I felt like
I
that would
wanted that Super Bowl so bad. I wanted that Super Bowl so bad, man. I mean, Brady is the best quarterback by a country mile that ever picked up a football. Not even close.
yeah,
But second to him in that era to me is Breeze. So and as far as records, obviously Brady has like 87 Super Bowl victories. Breeze only had one. But other than that, the stats are like they're always just like depending on the season, they're sort of jockeying for position. So that would have been like the perfect Super Bowl to see, man. And we never got to see it.
Well, interesting enough. So I guess we can kind of lead right into it with this. Talking about Tom Brady. Everyone knows Tom Brady left New England last year for Tampa Bay, and then shortly after, Rob Gronkowski decided to come out of retirement to join him. And then there was one man left, and everyone was talking about this one man. And well, is he going to make the trip next year? What's going on with him? And this week, that man, Julian Edelman, had announced his retirement from the NFL. For those who hadn't heard that, the squirrel hanging him up is all done. Now, people still speculate that this, you hear the rumors and stuff. People are like, well, this is a play so he can come out of retirement, join Brady down in Tampa. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, he's got that knee injury. Due to an injury, he wanted to retire, whatever, and he has taken some serious hits over the last couple of years. Then again, so did Gronkowski. He took a year off, he rehabbed, and then he jumped back in. I just don't know if I see the same going on with Julian Edelman. I feel like Julian's just. I think he's done. I think he's gonna. We were already questioning, how much football he had in him, even before last year.
Yeah.
So, I think
And it's not like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver core can use or needs Julian Edelman. I mean, they're pretty stacked.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that. I mean, I don't think they need him. So, I think he's done. He's a good player. I always loved Julian. Um, everyone I'm sure remembers the catch in Super Bowl 52. Um, Huge play. He played in some big games. Some big losses, some big wins.
yeah,
But
no, Julian Edelman was legit. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But what does he have to prove? I mean, he has a few rings. He had an illustrious career. I mean, why, chase another ring and risk injury? I mean, you're still young. You still, have your health, relatively speaking, for a football player. And like at some point, man, it's like, hang it up. It ends for everybody at some point.
that's true. Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny because it kind of applies to all sports. If you've ever seen the Moneyball movie about Billy Beane and the Oakland Athletics, there's a quote in that movie that's, we're all told at some point we can no longer play the children's game, whether it's at 18 or 40. We're all eventually told.
Yeah.
And that does go for pro athletes. At some point, you will be told you can't play anymore. That's just
Yeah,
life.
yeah. So it's good that you tell yourself and
Yeah.
walk out when you're ready.
And we've watched it happen with so many great athletes over the years. When you talk about, like people like Michael Jordan. When Michael Jordan walked away from the game, it was,
I
the
mean,
first time.
you won. You've done three back to back. You win. The chip with the winning shot. There's no better way to go out. There's no better way to go out. And just like an old boxer, he just he couldn't give it up. And he had some quality minutes with the Wizards, but he's a shell of himself. And it's like they weren't going to win anything. Like, man, end on that note. But it's hard to do. It's hard to do. Easy for us to say we never played at that level, right? So who knows? Right?
I feel like for those guys, and any professional athlete, especially ones who have had that level of successes, like Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, all of these players, it's hard to just shut it off. Just you walk
Yeah.
away and you're like, okay, I'm done. I played a lot of games, traveling around, the training, the practicing, all the work. Okay, I want to take a break, and then it's like you're done for like a year, and you're like, I want to be back out there. I want to compete. That's what these guys do. They're competitors. At their core. It doesn't matter who they play for. That they want to play. They want to win.
Yeah.
It's that drive. I totally agree with you.
I get
Another
it. Yeah.
another thing I wanted to hit on, baseball news. As baseball season has started, going into this year, I don't want to say we talked a lot of trash about the Red Sox, but we didn't really have high hopes for them. We were all kind of been like, well, it's kind of in the middle of kind of reorganizing the roster. And lo and behold, guess who's leading the American League East right now with a 7-3 record over everybody else? It's the Red Sox. They performed a double sweep after their first series being swept by the Orioles. They go to Baltimore and they swept Baltimore. And then they swept Tampa Bay at home, I believe. Yeah, they swept Tampa. Then they go to Baltimore. They swept Baltimore. They won the first game of the season against the Twins yesterday. So they're on a 7-game winning streak, and they have a 7-3 record in the AL East to start the season for a team that we were like, not going to be that great this year.
Never
So,
know.
yeah, you never know. It's just things are working for them. Sean, are you a baseball guy?
I am not.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe growing up in New Orleans, we didn't have a baseball team. It's just not something. Yeah. I mean, when the World Series comes around, I'll tune in a little bit just from a social standpoint. But yeah, I don't pretend to know a lot about baseball. Yeah.
That's fair. Hey, that's fair. You guys can have a team. It's hard. But football definitely. I'll give you that. We get the Saints.
Oh.
I'll give you that. You guys have a good football team in there, and you're right. And I wonder, how do they move on from Drew Brees? Good luck. I
Blue.
mean, we're in that. Hey, we have to answer that question too. I don't know if Cam Newton is our answer. I don't think
He
he's a
is
long
not.
term.
He is not. He is not. He is not. He wasn't the answer when they brought him up there. It's nothing against Cam, but it's just his best days are in his rearview mirror. And again, nothing against Cam. I like Cam, but I mean, I I, I didn't see that being the answer. But I thought if anybody could like make it work, Belichick. I mean,
Yeah.
because he's proven himself to be a Svengali and taking guys, in the golden years of their career and bringing them into the roster and they're having an impact on the team and so forth. So I thought if anybody could make that work, it could be him. But I didn't really see it. But yeah, it's is he still on the roster? Like,
So he was only signed for 1 year last year, and then the
okay,
season ended, and we didn't hear much. And I kind of was. I think most of us were like, all right, that didn't work. Let's move on. And then lo and behold, Belichick signed him to another 1 year deal. I was like,
okay.
what? I don't know. I was
Listen,
surprised, but he must know something
I
we don't.
yeah, I learned not to doubt Belichick. Like just let him do his thing and see. So I guess it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting for both of us this season. Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of all that, we do have an NFL draft coming up, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think last year was a little disappointing for the Patriots. They didn't really draft anyone too exciting or anybody I think we really needed. So it'd be interesting to see how Belichick does draft this year. Um, but getting away from sports, we're wrapping up the show. Sean, we've we've had a good conversation, had a good time with you.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. We love the opportunity to sit down and talk to you and get to know you a little bit better. Spoken some Cohibas tonight.
Yeah.
Enjoying these cigars. These are really good. I had the Cohiba
Thank you.
Blue.
Thank you.
Nicole had the red dot. Um,
The
Great
old school,
cigars.
the OG, the Cameroon, the original,
Yeah,
man. So yeah, hope you
OG.
like it. And hopefully I get up to New England sometime soon and we can go and be together in person. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And you guys, we talked about some of the other cigars. You have the Cohiba Royale. Obviously you have the Cohiba M that's coming out now.
That's coming out.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so everyone keep an eye out for that. That's a great cigar. That's creating a lot of hype. Thank you for tuning in, and watching us this week. Next week we have who do we have coming on next week?
Next week we have Ash Quarterly coming on.
That's right. We have Ash Quarterly coming on next week. Same time, same place. And then after that, the last week of April, we will be celebrating our 1 year anniversary of the show. So don't miss that one. That's going to be a very big show. We have some very special guests. Well, let me just say this. So John apparently has some special guests. I don't know who he has. I have my own special guests that I'm working on. That I haven't, nothing's being announced yet, but we'll probably try to announce that next week. So keep an eye out for that announcement. And as always, we are still running our Cigar Family Charitable Foundation / Smokin Tobacco fundraiser. If you head over to smokintabacco.com, if you haven't already, you can check out our swag store, all the items that are for sale through now, the end of the month. We are donating all proceeds and profits to Scar Family Charitable Foundation, as well as we're also opening up individual raffle ticket sales for the raffle. You buy an item, you're entered into the raffle, or you can buy the raffle tickets. They're $5 each. If you'd rather just kind of donate, but you still want a chance to win some of the amazing items, there's a whole list of things we're giving away: some cigars, bourbon, boxes of cigars, there's ashtrays,
And as of today,
accessories.
we have another prize, which is from JC Newman. We have a Brickhouse humidor that was donated to us. So um,
Yes.
that list just keeps on growing. So great raffle, great cause.
Absolutely. So guys, definitely check that out. Don't want to miss this. And at the end of the day, as cool as all of the prize items are, this is all for the benefit of a very good cause. Um, Down in the Dominican, helping these kids is truly important and it's special. So every dollar helps, every dollar counts, and we appreciate everyone who's contributed. So definitely check that out. Um, for more information, again, head to smokintabacco.com. You can find all the information there, as well as the raffle and all the other ticket sales. So thanks for watching with us, Sean. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming
Thanks
on.
for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you.
watching with us, guys, and we'll see you next week.